Appeals court upholds New Jersey's ban on firearms in sensitive places. A federal appeals court has delivered a major ruling upholding most of New Jersey's restrictions on where firearms can be carried. The decision, issued by the U.S. Court of Appeals for the Third Circuit, affirms the state's authority to bar guns from schools, casinos, arenas, public transit, beaches, and other so-called sensitive places. The 139-page opinion reverses a lower court ruling that had temporarily blocked parts of the law, handing state officials a significant legal victory. A victory for state officials. New Jersey Attorney General Matt Platkin praised the outcome, calling it a decisive victory for public safety. This critical law allows us to continue protecting the millions of people who call New Jersey home, Platkin said in a statement. He added that the ruling makes clear the Second Amendment does not give people unfettered ability to carry guns everywhere, especially in places where people gather in large numbers or consume alcohol. Governor Phil Murphy, who signed the law in 2022, also applauded the decision, describing it as proof that states can craft common-sense restrictions consistent with constitutional principles. The origins of the law. The law at the center of the case was enacted in December 2022, shortly after the U.S. Supreme Court's landmark Bruin decision. That ruling struck down New York's requirement that concealed carry applicants show proper cause to obtain a permit, effectively expanding gun rights nationwide. In response, New Jersey lawmakers passed one of the strictest carry laws in the country, banning guns in a wide range of public and private spaces and imposing an insurance requirement on permit holders. Gun rights groups swiftly filed lawsuits, arguing the law went too far. What the appeals court decided. In Wednesday's ruling, the appeals court sided with the state on most provisions but struck down others. Restrictions upheld. The panel upheld the state's bans on firearms in schools and universities, parks, playgrounds and recreational facilities, beaches and libraries, zoos and museums, bars, casinos and entertainment venues, public transportation systems, within 100 feet of public gatherings. The judges also approved requirements that permit applicants provide 4 character references. Restrictions overturned. Not everything survived judicial review. The court agreed with the lower court that the following provisions could not stand. A $300,000 liability insurance mandate for permit holders. A ban on carrying firearms in private vehicles. A $50 gun permit fee diversion to a victim's compensation fund. The court concluded that these measures lacked sufficient historical precedent to survive constitutional scrutiny. The court's reasoning. Judge Sherrill and Krauss, who wrote the majority opinion, stressed that New Jersey's restrictions are consistent with the nation's long history of regulating firearms in sensitive areas. As we look through our history, a pattern emerges, she wrote. Our nation has permitted restriction of firearms in discrete locations set aside for civic functions and where the presence of firearms was historically regulated as jeopardizing the peace. Krauss traced regulations back centuries, citing laws in early England, colonial America, and the Reconstruction era. She emphasized that while firearm technology and social conditions have evolved, the principle of restricting guns in crowded or sensitive places has endured. Her colleague, Judge Cindy K. Chung, joined the majority opinion. Judge David J. Porter, however, issued a fiery dissent, accusing the majority of twisting precedent and undermining constitutional rights. He argued that the decision effectively turned most places of human interest in New Jersey into gun-free zones, leaving law-abiding citizens unable to defend themselves. Reaction from gun rights groups. Gun rights advocates expressed disappointment but said the fight is not over. Pete Patterson, an attorney representing some of the challengers, said his clients were weighing their next legal steps. The Firearms Policy Coalition, one of the groups that sued, issued a statement saying the ruling was a partial but important recognition of their arguments but ultimately failed to protect the rights of citizens. These restrictions are an assault on peaceable people and must be struck down permanently, the group said. Scott Bach, head of the Association of New Jersey Rifle and Pistol Clubs, blasted the decision as splitting the baby on a fundamental right. It undermines the constitutionally guaranteed right to carry, Bach said, predicting the case will ultimately reach the U.S. Supreme Court. Historical and legal context. The Bruin decision has forced courts nationwide to evaluate gun laws through the lens of historical tradition. Under this test, modern regulations are valid only if they align with firearm restrictions that existed in earlier eras. Judge Krauss acknowledged the challenge of this approach, noting that courts are not historians. But she argued that New Jersey's law mirrors a long tradition of keeping weapons out of places where public safety and civic order are paramount. She also noted that modern realities such as mass shootings, urban density, and advanced firearm technology make these restrictions all the more important today. Our society has evolved considerably since the nation's earliest days, she wrote. What happens next? With the appeals court's ruling, New Jersey can continue enforcing most of its sensitive place restrictions. Attorney General Platkin has pledged to issue updated guidance to law enforcement so officers are clear on which provisions remain enforceable. Gun rights advocates are expected to appeal further, potentially sending the case to the U.S. Supreme Court. With the court's conservative majority, the final outcome remains uncertain. For now, New Jersey officials are celebrating a major legal win. This opinion shows that under the Bruin framework, these types of common-sense restrictions can continue to remain in effect, Platkin said. Conclusion. The Third Circuit's decision represents a pivotal moment in the national debate over gun rights and public safety. By upholding most of New Jersey's restrictions, the court has reinforced the state's ability to keep firearms out of crowded and sensitive spaces, while leaving open questions about insurance mandates and other novel provisions. The case illustrates the ongoing tension between constitutional rights and public safety concerns, a debate that seems destined to return to the U.S. Supreme Court. Until then, New Jersey stands as one of the states with the strongest limits on where firearms may be carried, a position state leaders say is essential for protecting communities in an era of rising gun violence. Thank you for watching. Please like, comment, and subscribe.